Let's rock, let's roll, let's go. Yay, yay.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on. Come on. That was weak. That was weak. I need a big old yay, yay on Winning Wednesday for Jule. Come on. Yay, yay. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, well, let me go ahead and reset this room. Let's rock. Let's roll. Let's go. Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Trevor Houston, and this is Breakfast with Champions, the Millionaire Breakfast Club. And this is your opportunity to get a seat at the table with those going the places you know you can go and doing the things you know you can do. Now, we don't see this clubhouse divider with a stage on top and an audience down below. No. Instead, we look at this as the world's largest breakfast table. It's full of motivation, education, inspiration, and even a friendly competition with the positive intention of pushing your momentum in the right direction. Now, listen, if you ever miss a segment, you could go download the Who You Know Show podcast, subscribe, and listen anytime. So head on over to whoyouknow.show, grab the link, and subscribe. Woo! Let's rock, let's roll, let's go. Super excited. Today's an amazing day. It's a great day. Today's a great day, y'all. It just is. Today's a great day. I want to give some special shout outs to some people I see in the room. Of course, we got Julie. She was just laying the mic a minute ago. We got Jessica, Mike. We got Trisha. We got Amanda. We got Denise, Vicky, Christy, Patricia. Good to see all of you. And if you're tuning in on any of the social media channels, just go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. I'd love to give you a shout out as well. Check in with us. And today, I got a little bit of time before I bring on a guest. Okay, I've got a guest for you. We're going to be recording an episode. It's going to be amazing. If you guys are looking to level up your PR and media presence, your news and all those different publications and all that kind of stuff, I got somebody who's absolutely crushing it. She can teach you how to get featured, okay? How to get your message out there on some of these major platforms. And so I'm excited to bring her on here just a moment. But before we get into all of that, okay, I want to give you a little rundown of the past couple of days. I've been going through some transformation myself, okay? And I've been going to a couple of events, and I actually ran an event on Monday, and just wanted to give you guys a couple lessons, a couple notes that I feel like it's important to understand. So I want to go back to Saturday, okay? On Saturday, I went to Amberly Lago. If you don't know who Amberly Lago is, you need to go look her up. Amberly Lago is a resilience champion, okay? She she's in the fitness world, and then was doing really, really well in the fitness world, and then all of a sudden got in a motorcycle accident that literally she almost lost her leg. She had to have like 19 surgeries on her leg, and ended up getting this diagnosed with this disease that they call like the suicide disease or something like that, because it's so painful that people end up committing suicide because it's just that painful. And her story of resilience, of what she's had to do to kind of like get back on top. And this woman is just absolutely inspiring. When you see her, it just like she's just amazing. So if anybody knows Amberly Lago, if you follow her story, just put a 1 in the chat. She is absolutely fire. But the reason I'm talking about this is I recently went to her Unstoppable Summit. She had the conference here in Dallas. And there was some lessons I took away from that, and I wanted to share those with you today. So the first lesson that I will tell you is sometimes you just need to get in the room, right? Sometimes you just need to get in the room. You know, she invited me. She was like, Trevor, you need to come. And so I was like, you know what? Let's rock, let's roll, let's go. And you know what? Amberly's a good friend. And I'm going to tell you, like, I went ahead and bought a ticket. Like, I didn't ask her for a ticket. I wasn't like, hey, can I get in for free or any of that kind of stuff. Like, let's go ahead, support the people You know what I mean? So support those people around you. Like it's important. Like if somebody comes out with a book or somebody comes out with a new course or whatever, don't be a freeloader asking for free stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't need a handout. Okay. But it is important to get in the room. So, you know, I bought a ticket. Let's go. Even though she's a really good friend of mine. So I could have easily been like, hey, let me get something for free. No way. No way. Okay. So I went ahead, got my ticket and show up. So that's number one. You got to show up, get in the rooms. Right. And she was telling me about this guy named John Gordon. Okay. That was one of the speakers, John Gordon. If you know who John Gordon is, go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. Okay. If you know who that is, John Gordon, I'll be transparent with you. I didn't really know who that was. Okay. You know what? There's so many big names out there. I really didn't know who this guy was. Okay. But she kept saying, oh my gosh, John Gordon, you got to get in the room, got to meet John Gordon. I'm like, okay. So I went ahead and I went and I walked up to him like before he went on stage. And I just walked up to him and I said, hey, you know, my name's Trevor Houston. Amberly Lagos speaks so highly of you. She just has been ranting and raving about you. And I told him, I said, I'll be transparent. I don't really know, but I'm about to find out. I cannot wait to hear you speak. Right. Like I was transparent. Like I didn't, you know, told him, oh, I know who you are and all that kind of stuff. I was like, hey, I'm excited. She keeps telling me how great you are. I'm ready to hear. Let's see, you know? And, you know, he gave me a little pound, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And then he goes on the stage. Wow. This guy absolutely lit it up. One of the best keynotes that I think I've ever heard. I mean, he just absolutely lit the whole place on fire. It was absolutely amazing. And I learned a lot about him in his speech. You know, he's written 30 books. Come on now. 30 freaking books. That's crazy. He still sold millions and millions of books, guys. This guy's crushing it. And he gets paid like $75K just to go on stages, you know, and give a keynote for an hour or whatever. He'll get paid $75,000. I mean, he's a big deal. Anyway, and it lit me up, and I felt this calling. Okay, and this is the lesson I want you guys to take note of. Have you ever had that calling that you're like, I got to get up right now. I needed to get up, run over to him after he was done, because I knew when he was done with that keynote, he was going to get bombarded, right? There was going to be a line of people wanting to talk to this guy, right? And so I just got that feeling in my gut. I'm like, okay, this is my shot. Okay, this is my shot. I need to beeline over there to him. Okay, and that's exactly what I did. But I got up before he even got off stage, because I knew where he was at in the conference. Like I knew where he was sitting. I knew where like his wife was over there and all this kind of stuff. I already knew where they were sitting, right? So I had already got up even before he had got off stage, because I knew he was going to get bombarded, right? And I just beelined over there, and I went and said hello to his wife. And you know, most people would be like, this is the part where most people would kind of get a little bit shy or whatever. But I just knew I was on a mission. I needed that guy on this show to share with my audience, because my audience is typically broken. They're feeling hopeless, worthless. You know, like the job seekers that I work with, they're going through a really, really hard time. They're out of work. They're struggling. Okay. And they're just, their mindset's broken. So I knew, like, I need this guy to lift them up. Right. I need this guy to put some motivation, some inspiration, right, and get them off the ground. That's what I need. So what it caused me to beeline over to this guy, and what caused me to be as bold as I was, and to just absolutely go over there and was like, hey, I need you on my show. I need you. After I heard him, I said, I know now what Amberly was talking about, and now I know why I needed to be here. I need you on my show because I need you to lift up my audience. My audience is feeling down. I made it where it wasn't about me. It wasn't about me. It was about my audience. I need to share you with my audience because that message that you just shared will help potentially to save a life. There are people that I work with who are so depressed and anxious and fearful and stressful. I've lost some here along the way. I've been doing this for a long time. So it's not about me. It's about them, right? And when you have something that's bigger than you, a purpose, a calling, a mission, you will do the things. You will have that fire in you to get your butt up and go, race over to that guy and, be bold and ask. And that's the other thing that I want to share with you guys is ask and you shall receive. Okay. Ask and you shall receive. Like if you don't ask, what's that saying? A closed mouth does not get fed. Okay. You got to ask sometimes. You got to be bold. You just got to get your butt up and go over there and ask. And if you don't, well, guess what? You already know what your answer is. Your answer is no. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So get your butt up and go ask whatever you need in life. What's going to help take you to that next level? What do you need? And go start asking, right? Have an ask in your back pocket, something that you know is going to take you to that next level, right? Recently this year, I've been asking a lot for speaking opportunities. And guess what? They're landing in my lap. I'm like, dang, that's easy. I didn't know all I had to do was ask for it. You know what I mean? Just ask. People want to help you. People watch you, people see you, and they want to help, but they'll never do it if you don't ask. So whatever it is you need in your life, right? For the job seekers who are on my audience that listen, what do you need? Right? What company do you want to work for? What's your target? What are you trying to accomplish? And then ask and ask and ask and ask. It's so important. So that was one of the big takeaways there, is to just ask, guys, what do you need? Right? What's going to take you to that next level? The other big takeaway from Amberley Lagos conference, which I'm going to tell you was so transformational. This was so good, y'all. Oh my gosh. Y'all need to follow her. It was so good. And talk about so she has a mastermind and her mastermind is all women. Okay. And talk about a powerhouse of powerful women. I was probably like one of maybe 10 men that were there. There wasn't very many men. They're powerful women. I was like, wow. It was inspiring, actually. It was so cool to see women lifting up other women and working together, common goal, mission, all that stuff. It was powerful to see that because, you hear a lot about crabs in a bucket mentality when it comes to women, pulling each other down, feeling like there's not enough space at the top. You hear a lot about that. Women will tell you that. Okay. I've heard like Heather Monahan talked a lot about that. She said when she was in the corporate world, it was crabs in a bucket mentality. There's only so much space at the top. So they were trying to pull each other down. And so to see this group of women working together, unified, wow, it was powerful. I loved seeing that. And one of the things that was a common theme throughout that entire conference was freedom. I just absolutely loved it because it was a theme that everyone spoke on. It's like, what is that thing that's got you shackled? What's that thing that is literally holding you back from who you're called to be? And I think for everyone, everyone's answer is a little different, right? What it is. And I'm going to encourage each and every one of you that's listening to my voice right now. What is that thing, that one thing that if you could overcome this thing, it would take you to that next level in your business, in your relationships, in your life, whatever that is for you, it will take you to that next level. What is it? Write it down. See, I remember, years ago, I went to a conference and they asked that question. And I remember I knew what it was. It was in the back of my head, right? You all know what that one thing is. And you might not want to share it with everybody. That's okay. You all know what that thing is. It's in the back of your head right now. You can see it, you can feel it, right? Maybe you're writing it down. I hope you're writing it down. I did. I wrote it down. And that thing was public speaking. I knew that was the thing that was holding me back. See, there was a time in my life when I used to be so terrified to speak publicly, like absolutely just terrified. So growing up, I had a pretty rough childhood, and I was in these special ed classes, and they had me riding the short bus and all this kind of stuff. They put all the kids that had anger issues and that were kind of rambunctious like me, they put people like me in classes with disabled kids, right? And so I rode the short bus, all of that. I was in special ed classes. And I remember they'd keep you in that class. It was called PASS, Positive Attitudes for Success is what the name of the class was. PASS class. In this PASS class, I didn't get to go to the normal classes with the normal kids. Okay, I'm in this class with people that have disabilities and things. I'm riding the short bus, and but they would let us go for lunch. Right? It was like, okay, now you can go out. And so we go out for lunch, and I just felt like I didn't know anyone, and I felt like everyone was staring at me, and I felt like something was wrong with me, and I felt like I was like, I don't know, that I had this overwhelming sense of anxiety. And I remember, like, I didn't know where to sit and just felt like I was being judged. And it was probably all just in my head, if I'm being honest about it. But I had this feeling like people were looking at me like I was some kind of a freak. Okay. Because they literally used to put us in a padded room in the PASS class. I used to have to go into a padded room when I would get a little crazy. They'd throw me in a padded room. Anyways, so when I would get that feeling when I was a teenager in school, like, I'm in the lunchroom and I feel like everybody's staring at me. I remember taking my lunch tray and I didn't know where to sit, and I felt like a freak. So I would go sit out in the bathroom. I would go hide and eat my lunch in the bathroom in one of the stalls. You know what I mean? I was hiding out like a coward. And I just remember the amount of anxiety and fear I had. The fear of other people's opinions of me. That's what it was. I was afraid of the other people's opinions. And it held me captive for a long time. And, growing up as an adult, whenever it came to public speaking, oh my gosh, all of those feelings came flooding back to me. It just came flooding back. I remember literally as an adult, and I knew that I was going to have to get up and give my like elevator pitch or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Like I knew the mic was coming my way. I knew I knew it was headed in my direction. Have you ever been in those rooms where it's coming? That microphone's about to hit you and you're like, oh crap. And I remember as an adult literally running and going to the bathroom again. I would hide out in the bathroom until I knew that thing was past. Okay. I would hide out in the bathroom like a coward. And I remember, again, I went to a conference one day and they asked me that question of, what's that one thing that's holding you back? What's that thing that is holding you back? Okay. And shoot, I wrote it down, public speaking. And so I had to overcome that. So what is that thing for you? That's the other thing I want you to ask yourself. What is that thing for you that's holding you back that will take you to the next level in your life? And typically your greatest fear, guys, your superpower is typically wrapped up in your greatest fear. Okay. Whatever that thing is for you, it's typically it's wrapped up in fear. It's holding you back from who you're called to be. Okay. Right. Your superpower is typically wrapped up in your biggest fear. Okay. Because the enemy doesn't want you to become who you're supposed to become. The enemy wants to hold you back and destroy you, lie, kill, and destroy. Okay. And so he's going to put fear all around your greatest gift, right? So guys, I'm going to tell you that. Write it down. What is holding you back? And then I want you to just dive in and attack that thing. And that's what I did. I had to, plant the flag and say, I'm going to overcome this. All right. And just real quick, another example I was talking about earlier, I was talking about just ask and you shall receive. I want to give you another quick example. So we just had a live show on Monday with Ken Coleman. Ken Coleman is a nationally syndicated radio show host for Dave Ramsey Network. Okay. Dave Ramsey has like 4 or 5 shows on his network. Ken Coleman is one of them. He actually co-hosts with Dave Ramsey, so it's kind of a big deal. This is the second time we had him on our show. We did a live studio audience, and I remember literally I asked him, it was very bold, okay, in front of a live studio audience. I had about 50 people in front of me, in front of this live audience. I asked him, I said, hey, he was talking about the power of proximity, and you got to get in the right rooms and, be around the right people. And I said, so what you're telling me is it's all about who you know, right? And he said, yeah, it's all about who you know. And I said, well, you know a guy I'm trying to get a hold of. His name's Ken Coleman. He's like, yeah, I know that guy pretty well. I said, well, let me ask you a question. What do you think I got to do to get on the Ken Coleman show? Right? Because Ken Coleman has a huge platform, right? It's on the Dave Ramsey Network. I said, what do I got to do to get on the Ken Coleman show? And so I put him on blast in front of this live studio audience, right? And then I looked over at the audience and I said, y'all want to see me on the Ken Coleman show? And they all start clapping. They're like, yeah, we want to see you on the Ken, woo, right? So I put him straight on the, put him on blast, like, hey. And, he was like kind of thrown back that I would ask him that in front of everybody, right? It was bold, right? And he was so transparent. He's like, man, you know what? You asked a bold question, get ready for a bold answer, right? He's like, you got to apply. We don't just let anybody on our show, right? He's like, you got to go through the process. If you're willing to go through the process, he's like, I'll put in a good word for you, right? And I was like, fair. I was like, it sounds like you're, all I'm looking for is an opportunity. Where do I apply? Okay. And he goes, I'll tell you what we will do. We'll put you on my Instagram live. We'll do a live together. And I said, I told him, I said, that sounds like an interview to me. I'm down. Let's go. I'm ready for the interview, And then next thing you know, he's also connecting me. I'm going to be having Ken Coleman or David Ramsey's daughter on the show. And so that's coming very soon. So anyways, just being bold and asking. Things are happening. And sometimes we're so worried about the no, right? Because he could have easily said no right there on the spot in front of a group of 50 people. Could have been so worried about that no that it would have kept me from ever asking. But no, I had one shot, right? You got one shot. He's right in front of you. Take your shot, right? Take your shot, guys. Ask for what you need in this world, and things just start happening. I want to share that. It's so important. So anyways, these are just a couple of takeaways from a recent, couple of events that I've had that I thought were important to share with you guys. I do have an amazing guest coming up. All right. She is in the lobby right now, so I'm going to pull her in. Give me 1 second in here. But hopefully this was a good couple of takeaways. Again, get in the room, okay? Freedom, what's holding you back, right? What's holding you back from being who you're called to be? You know what it is. Write it down and go attack that thing, all right? And just ask. What do you need in this world? Ask for it, right? Ask and you shall receive. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share real quick. Cheryl is a renowned TV host, a media personality, and her expertise has been showcased in some of the world's most prominent platforms, from People Magazine to CNN. Today, Cheryl's going to share some of her insights into navigating the major media landscape, crafting compelling brand stories, and becoming your own publicist to seize opportunities in the 24-hour news cycle. So good morning, Cheryl. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'd love to dive into your journey a little bit and talk about how you got into the world of media and news and all these kind of stuff, and how you help people to do the same thing. Welcome.
Absolutely. I think with all of us, in some real sense, there's a kind of crazy, circuitous journey where we started out one place, had maybe an objective, and the way we get there is always so unexpected, right? I grew up in a really remote Colorado Rockies town. I grew up in a horse ranch, and we were in the flyover zone. There were no signs of civilization from our ranch. It was that remote. It could have been hundreds of years ago or modern day, but I used to lie on the ground and look up at planes and think I'd lie there, I mean, truly among the cows and horses, just lying on the grounds, looking at the planes as a little girl thinking, man, I want to be the girl in the plane, looking down at the girl lying here in the horse meadow. But I would have to have something to give people. I don't know what I could give or teach or how I could help people. All I really knew how to do at the time was ride and train horses. And I thought there's people way better than I am at that. But I set out in the world to, just at that very tender young age, to become someone who could be going places and helping people. As a teenager, I decided that I just had to get out of this small town, and I left to go on a trip with my best friend just to figure out how to get out into the world. Now, I'd seen that, hey, they always need models, and nowhere near Rye, Colorado did we need those. So I thought, I'm tall enough. I'm on the boys' basketball team. I have no interest in being a model per se, other than it could get me out of the small town. And so I went on vacation with my best friend, and no kidding, no sooner did we get to France than a man with a huge camera around his neck walked up and said, "Hey, are you a model? I can make you one." And I was like, wow, this is how easy it is to become a model in France. I'm obviously on the right path. I had this idea. Here I am.
You didn't have stranger danger going off?
I did. I mean, Trevor, I was a child, as a teenager, but
Yeah.
I also thought,
I've seen that movie. That movie can go bad real fast.
right, I was like, my life is wasting away
Yeah.
here in the remote mountains where I never see people that I'm not related to. I had dreams. I wanted to do something other than just be a rancher.
Right.
And so I thought, you know what? This is probably not the best idea. He wanted me to go with him and his big friend standing over against the wall. And I thought, this is probably not the best idea, but I'm strong. I mean, I drive a tractor trailer, despite my young age. I know how to wrestle a steer. I'm strong. I'm smart. I'm savvy. I'll go with them. I'll let them take my photos and I'll become a model. I'll figure it out. No matter how strong and smart and savvy I was no match for these criminals. They drugged me. They held me captive.
No way.
Yes.
Oh my God. So when I said stranger danger, that was real.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah,
Holy smokes. I'm so sorry.
we all deal with the unexpected in life. They held me captive in an abandoned construction site. They tortured, beat me. You can fill in
Oh
all
my
the gory
God.
details.
Oh.
You can kind of fill in all the gory details with your mind, these criminals and me. And for some reason, I don't know why, eventually they let me go. Now, as I was there lying on the cement floor for all these days, going
Mm.
through the unthinkable, I kept thinking, I kept trying to barter with God, please set me free. Once I'm free, I'll be happy. I'll be a better person. I won't be mean to my little brother and sister. I'll hold my grandma's hand in public when she tries to grab my hand. And, I was a child. I didn't know. I was embarrassed about things like holding my grandma's hand. I kept trying to bargain with God, set me free and I will do good in the world.
Mm.
And then eventually they dumped me on this patch of grass. They pushed me out of the car. I was bloodied, bruised, beaten. They chopped off my hair. I mean, it
Oh
was
my
just,
God.
and then I'm free. And the most crazy thing happened, Trevor. I felt more captive than ever. It was now the captivity was between my ears, and I had repetitive thoughts like about vengeance and how do I get
Mm.
back at them? And I never can tell anybody what happened, or they'll know I'm dirty and rotten and used up and filthy and stupid beyond belief. And that my game was now, how do I hide this from anybody and still survive?
Oh my God.
And I realized, look, I'm not the first person to go through tragedy.
Mm.
There's others who've gone through far worse. What did they learn? What do they know? Somehow reading a book seemed insufficient to the hell that I was facing in between my ears. So I thought, I want to learn from these people, actually speak to them and understand, grapple with, roll up my sleeves, understand what they did and formulate some bridge to recovery. And that's what I did. I started volunteering at old age homes. It was just like, I thought, who's gone through a lot? Well,
Mm.
older people. Everybody was older. I was a teenager. And at first, I just went there and, oh my God, they wanted to talk. Nobody listens to old people in our country, right? They just wanted to talk. But there were war veterans and Holocaust survivors and survivors of just unthinkable, unexpected things. And I just at first listened it, which was good because I didn't have to listen to the craziness between my own ears, the plans
Mm.
of revenge and all that. And then I started to codify what they'd done that worked and didn't,
Mm.
conversely. Why some of them were still angry and bitter and resentful, while others had gone on to live a really productive, fruitful life.
Mm. So you started to kind of build these commonalities in between their
Yes.
stories of like, hey, these people over here that went some hard times, and these were some of the things that they were doing to help, find freedom again.
Yes. What worked?
Mm.
What didn't? Why?
Wow.
How? And I tried it on with myself, and it was surprisingly effective. And
What were some of those things that helped you to kind of, find, again, find freedom, but for yourself to be able to let go of some of those thoughts of, vengeance and revenge and to did you find forgiveness? Was there, like, talk to me about that? What were some of those
yes.
things? And first of all, I just got to say, when I made that comment in the very beginning, I didn't understand your story. When I said, the stranger danger and all that kind of stuff. Oh my gosh. Wow. I did not know. Like, I totally thought this story was going a different direction about how you went and it helped you become a PR, superstar. Oh my gosh. I'm so like, wow.
Trevor, 0 worries. I mean, the message about that it's possible to overcome. I wrote
Mm,
a couple books on it,
yeah.
and I wanted to get that message out to the world and eventually did. Like you said,
Mm.
the CNNs, Fox News's, Dr.
Got you.
Phil, Dr.
So
Oz,
that's what
all of
helped
that.
you. It was
I
you
got
you
that message out to the world.
mm,
But at first, as I was there grappling with how in the hell do I get out of this captivity of the mind?
mm,
I was listening to these elderly people and what they had done that worked. And some of the things, what I really learned early on is that they said revenge never brings peace. And I was like,
Mm.
but wait, no, I want to make these sons of guns pay. I want to go back to France with some vigilante force and gun these sons of guns down,
Where's
and
Batman
then
when you
I'll
need
be
him?
happy.
Where's Batman when you need him? Come on, I need Batman to just, because you know he gets
Pummel.
pissed off. You know,
I
that's what he
mean,
does.
I had dreams about like crushing their skulls into the sidewalk, and I was like, okay, I'm not that physically strong. I could wrestle a steer, but that's about all I got. It just when I
Mm,
when I started to grapple with, okay, if revenge doesn't bring peace, what does?
mm,
And they also started, those who had overcome found a way to authentically relate to the bad that had happened as a gift. And I was like, no,
mm.
no, just no. At first, it was like,
Yeah, you want to
maybe,
reject that. You're like, mm-mm,
right. Yes,
no, thank
out of
you.
hand rejection. I was like, maybe tolerate someday. Gift, hell no. But once I got from hating it to, okay, just maybe let's say tolerate, there was a profound state shift. And then up the ladder from tolerate to accept was another profound state shift. Each one of these state shifts gave more aliveness, more presence, more potency and power and peace. And it was remarkable. I didn't know myself.
Mm,
Or started rather to find myself again, but like version 2.0. And then from acceptance to embrace, Trevor, what? It unlocked the gifts that it
mm,
held when I moved from hate to tolerance to accept to embracing what had occurred. It suddenly became a benefit. It suddenly became a gift and gave me this opportunity not only to behold myself, but to give that away and become that little girl lying on the ground among the
mm,
cow patties, looking up at the plains, saying, I want to be somebody who's got something to give
mm.
people.
This
Suddenly
reminds
had it.
me. This reminds me of a song. It's a worship song called "Victory," and in that song, they talk about you took what the enemy made for evil and you turn it for good, right? And I think about that in my own life. There's been a lot of challenges and things that I've gone through that, you know, it was the enemy, and God works it out and works it out and works it out and turns that thing around so that you can use this now as a weapon against the enemy,
Amen.
right? It's so
So
powerful.
beautifully said. You know, I'm 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 moved to tears by how beautiful that is. Thank you. You know, that journey from hating something to tolerating, accepting, and embracing, it was really a journey of saying yes to what's so. In other words, you know, maybe God has some insight here that I don't have.
Mm,
Maybe the Lord knows better than I. And the journey of moving down that pathway or up truly, because it was an elevation,
mm,
was a journey of saying, "Thy will, not mine."
mm,
Yes, yes, Lord. I'm going to say yes to what you've put in my path rather than fighting what you've put in my path. And then he can give the gift that it holds.
mhm,
And that only comes at the stage of actually embracing it.
mm. Yeah, I asked. So I recently, I'm good friends. I'm not sure if you know who she is. Her name's Amberly Lago. Amberly Lago, in her story, she got in this motorcycle accident and it almost took her leg. Like she had 19 surgeries on her leg and um, had and then got this disease. I forget what it's called, but they call it the like the nickname of it is the suicide disease, because it's so painful that a lot of people commit suicide. And anyway, so she like went through this whole journey. And I remember asking her when I had her on the show, and I said, hey, would you, like, if you could go back and not get on that motorcycle, like, would you get on it? She's like, absolutely, I would. I'd do it all over again, because of the impact that it's been able to have once you overcome and once you come through on the other side. And what we're talking about is how God can take this seemingly, horrible situation and turn it for good. And now she's able to impact and inspire. And I'm sure you're doing the same thing with your story. Tell me about some of the results. Like, so you came through, you figured out how to turn this for your good. And then you wrote some books. What's happened since then? And talk to me about like some of the transformation that you've been able to help others with. I know you're making an impact out there.
Well, I at first I started working with survivors
Mm,
of violent crime, survivors of trafficking, because they thought these guys were traffickers, the law enforcement ever since then. Survivors of all kind, rape and all sexual
mhm,
assault and all this stuff. I started working kind of close to home with people that had experienced something similar and helping them with this framework that I designed. I was kind of beta testing it, as it were.
mm,
And I simultaneously, one of the things I did to save my own life was took a lot of personal development seminars and programs. And by the time I'd finished literally everything I could find, I got trained to lead them so I'd have some more facility with it. I could kind of be the author of that work for people as I was helping them through the process. It helped me as well. Now, what I did as my day job, I always loved to write, and I was
mm,
blessed to I started writing scripts for TV shows, and I started first writing plays, and I had them developed by my work developed by HBO and NBC and Fox, and then I sold some TV shows. So my day job was writing TV, and I could see the power that major media had to shape the collective conversation.
mm.
Like water cooler moments where everyone in the nation or everyone in the world is talking about the same thing.
Yeah, like when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, okay? That you couldn't get away from that story, like, that thing was
Right.
everywhere. Or like when, Cat Williams went on the Shay Shay show, all of a sudden he was talking about, some stuff going on in the industry behind the scenes and this, that, and the other. They're like, man, that stuff was everywhere. There are times, you're right,
There
when
are times, the little girl
viral stories like
falls down the well, and
yeah,
everyone in the nation is praying for her.
mm,
Or there's some horrible school shooting, and everyone in the nation is gathered around the TV praying for the victims and families. And I thought, man, if I could use the power of major media and harness that to get a message like it's possible to overcome adversity and
mm,
embrace the horrors that life gives us. If I could get that message out to the world, it would make a profound difference. Now, I was connected in media. Was a network TV writer, but it took me almost a decade to get my own message out to the world. I realized in the process, major media is designed to keep you out.
mm.
And I didn't know how and why. I mean, I got blacklisted at
What
at
was
a
that
co
about? Why
you
did that
know,
happen?
well, I just didn't know any better. And
Mm,
wide-eyed and enthusiastic, I got introduced to a gatekeeper at Good Morning America, and I went about it, and I did all the wrong things that I
mm.
now know
Well,
earmark
okay.
you
Yeah,
as
what are those things? What are the
oh,
don'ts? I wanna know
Lord.
the don'ts. What don't you
Yeah,
do
right, like,
to the
you
gatekeeper?
don't get introduced to a gatekeeper before you're media trained.
Okay.
Despite the fact that I knew how to write for TV, entirely different prospect than writing in sound bites.
Mm,
Entirely different prospect than newsjacking. And most experts, when they want to get major media appearances, they go, I'm so great. I can talk about myself or my business and my product and my widget and my whatever. And they get on there and they make it the self promotion show.
Mm.
And I started self-promoting about my books and my this and my that, and that red flag. They're like, "Oh, no." Make sure never to book so and so. Still, I have never been on Good Morning America.
Uh,
There are unwitting things that people do that earmark them as someone who cannot be trusted
mm.
with a segment. So I learned the hard way and finally got my message out to hundreds of millions. And I recognized at that point, Trevor, I thought, there's an industry dedicated to helping people overcome adversity. I'm going to step back and allow the mental health professionals to help people do that. But there's nothing that exists to help mission driven entrepreneurs, experts get their message out to the world via major media. If it took me a decade as someone connected, people don't stand a snowball's chance in hell. So I pulled
Mm.
together the journalists that I had become friends with, the television producers, writers, directors, etc. And we now gather around these mission driven people and help them break into major media so that they can share their expertise with the world and help people.
So, okay, so let me see if I can recap this here. So you built a network then of other media folks that can help get people on platforms, right? So
Yep.
okay, yeah. So you were like, man, this is tough, right? Trying to get there yourself, right? Let's go together, right? If we go
Yes.
together, I think there's more power in that. Was that what I'm hearing?
That's exactly right. I
Okay.
thought if I'm gonna give up the helping people overcome adversity business, what could I provide? What service could I
Mm.
provide for people? And I saw such a need in helping people break into media because of the good they could do. I
Mm.
truly believe that every problem we have in the world could be solved if the expert who's already doing good work in that area had a platform, had a reach, had the
1,000.
ability to be in front of millions that could
1,000.
hear their expertise.
Yeah. Everybody that's listening right now on the podcast, I want you to think about whatever that thing is for you, whatever that dream, that mission, that purpose. What are you the expert at? Right? Imagine if more people knew your name and that you are the person that does that thing. Whether it's your business, whether it's even in your career. Let's say you're working in corporate America and you're the HR expert. But what if more people knew that you were the person, the go-to, right? You would have opportunities coming and flooding in your way. And this creates inbound, it creates opportunity, and it creates abundance, and it creates so much. Grant Cardone always talks about if nobody knows you, nobody flows you. And
Mhm.
where attention goes, money flows, right? And so, I totally agree with what you're saying. What if more people knew your name? And you deserve it. They should know your name.
And we've seen fame for fame's sake, whether it's the
Sure.
Kardashians, God bless them. I have nothing bad to say about them. They've stayed in the public eye beautifully.
Perfect example of where attention goes, money flows.
Yes, I mean,
Perfect
they've done it
example.
so beautifully, and, I'm
Yeah,
not them aside, the fact that they've been able to stay in the public eye,
yeah,
there's merit to that.
yeah.
If you've got something to provide for people. We've seen now influencers who are famous for being famous again, and it's what if you could harness, capture the attention of the public to serve.
Mhm.
That really, I think, is the next frontier.
Oh, yeah, not only the next frontier, it's already here, right? It's already here.
Right.
I mean, you got guys like, Gary V, I mean, what does he do? He does media, right? Like he does media and he does commercials and marketing and da 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 da, da, right? That's like what his business is about around Vayner Media, right? And he's got multiple businesses, right? But he's putting out the content. He's got the platform. He's putting it out, and he's always been putting it out. But it's like you got a lot of people like that where, they're getting their positive message out there, and they're changing things. And I think
Yes.
it's a trend we're starting to see. If you have a business, if you have a purpose, a mission, right? Again, what could it do if more people knew your name? If you were in front of the right, I mean, imagine that all of a sudden doors start opening because the right people start hearing you, seeing you, right? The decision makers hear you, see you, right? Doors open.
And
So
whether it's, big decision makers or just the individuals who need what you've got. We
100%.
have a client, there's a wonderful client of mine, Dr. Michael Hutchison. He had his son was 8 years old. He's a dentist. He
Mhm.
studied concussion, and he wanted to find a way to stop concussions from happening. And
Mm,
when his son was 8 years old, he wanted to start playing contact sports. He was going to go into football. And Dr. Hutchison said, I have seen what happens in the NFL. I know that 10,800 people have a concussion a day, and it alters their life irrevocably for the worse. And he created a mouth guard that does something specific with your bottom jaw,
oh,
holds it in this physiologic jaw position that prevents concussion in like 90 something percent. Now, he beta tested it, he got it into manufacturing, he got it patented, he did all this work and was trying to get it out to people and help them. But people were kind of like laughing him out of meetings saying, haven't you seen the NFL? The mouth guard goes on the top. Don't you know? Yours is on the bottom. It doesn't make sense. And he said, exactly. The concussion rate in the NFL or boxing or any of these things. And finally, we were able to help him get out there on TV and start to really permeate the listening and re-educate people. And now, do you know whether it's parents with their kids in sports or whether it's he's got it on pro athletes, like big celebrity pro athletes, and he's in right now in process of getting it out to our armed forces. And I'm thinking, this is a guy who could help individuals or those big decision makers you talk about in immeasurable ways, but he first had to get the message out and he
mhm.
first had to re-educate people on there's a better way. And it's hard to get attention now.
Mm.
I mean, it's always been a little bit challenging if you're a business owner or an expert, but
Yeah, it's
now
saturated
literally,
now.
yeah,
And it's
everybody on
only
the
going to get
planet.
worse. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a great lesson here for everybody to take note. Anybody that's like, I don't know if I should like start a podcast, or I don't know if I should make that video. I don't know. And like you've got something kind of holding you back. I want you to know it's only going to get harder. So if you don't start now, you got to get started. You should have been started, years ago. Like, let's get you in the pool, okay? Because guess what? It's only gonna get busier and busier and busier as far as like the traffic, as far as all of the noise, everything that's out, and you have to break through the noise of all these other
Yes.
people. And like people are jumping in this thing, and content creation is getting easier and easier and easier with AI and all these different things that's coming out. Like it's so get started is I think is an important lesson here, because otherwise, man, it's getting it's harder to garner that attention nowadays.
You're so right, Trevor. It's like that old phrase, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second
Bingo
best time is
is
right now.
right now,
The
100%.
the challenge is now with social media, literally everyone on the planet has access to a microphone. How do you
Sure.
pierce through that?
Hmm.
And you've done this extraordinary job of building your own platform, building an audience,
Hmm.
providing this value for people that they keep tuning back in. But one of the things that people come to us and they're like, I don't want to invest 10 years into getting out there. Well, then the reason that we suggest major media is because you're able to leverage somebody else's audience
Here we
rather
go.
rather than
Mic drop.
slog it out.
Mic drop. Let me tell you something. That was a huge lesson for me. Okay. That was my biggest takeaway when last year, I went to Grant Cardone's 10X Growth Conference, right? And the biggest takeaway for me was they have 10X stages, and what they teach is other people's stages. See, I've been doing this show since January of 2018. And do you know how much time, energy, do you know the work over the
Yes.
last 6.5 years I've put in over the hundreds and hundreds of episodes and just to build, an audience? And it's like, yes, there's a lot of positives, and I will speak to that. I think you should have your own show. I think you should have your own podcast, all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of benefit to it. But man, I was like, when they talked about leveraging other people's audience, now you're just showing up and you're the star. They're spotlighting you. You're the star, right? I mean, it was a huge aha moment for me because I was doing it this way, building my own stage, when I could have been leveraging other people's stages and what they're building, and they're bringing the audience, and now when you step onto their stage, you've got instant credibility, right? Anyway, so yeah, speak on that, because that was a huge takeaway for me last year and something I'm focused on this year.
Yeah, there's such power in that.
Yeah.
It took you all this time to get to where you are. It took me that decade
Mm-hmm.
of already being connected in media and working in media to get my own message out to media. It's long and hard to do it that way
Yep.
versus somebody else. And major media, you could tune into a show that's got an audience of 3.5 million. I mean, if you look at even some of the online platforms, like the digital platforms like Yahoo, that's hundreds of millions of daily viewers. If you can get an interview with them, you're suddenly leveraging this massive group of people. Now, they all won't be your target audience, but a heck of a lot of them will. It's, our clients are business owners and brand owners, and, they may be running ads, which is, part of a great business strategy. But when someone sees your ad, they're going to go, who is this person? And then go do a little research if they're interested. And generally, our ads and what's on our own website or socials or our own marketing, it's the stuff we say about ourselves. I'm the best podiatrist in the Tri-Cities region or whatever, versus NBC News interviews you.
Right.
Time Magazine does a profile on you,
Mm-hmm.
and they say revolutionizing foot care. And it's suddenly like the best podiatrist in the tri-state region. No, who cares? It pales by comparison. Nobody cares what you say about you. It's what are the experts? What are those with real authority and gravitas? What are they saying about you?
That's so good too, because that's like, they say when you talk about a personal brand, your personal brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room, right? And so it's not what you say about yourself. You could look in the mirror and be like, yeah, I'm the greatest, I'm the best, I'm the da 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 da. But if the outside world says you suck, that's what your personal brand is, right? So what you're saying is, again, on your website, you could be patting yourself on the back, talking about how great you are, you're the best, dentist or whatever. But if that's not what the rest of the world is saying, then but if you can leverage some of these news and media outlets to talk about how great you are, again, it's that borrowed trust. Like people are gonna listen to that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're borrowing the authority
Mm-hmm.
of that major media source.
Yep.
And then particularly if you're new, and people, you're still unproven, you do good work. I'm saying all this predicated upon the assumption that you're doing good in the world.
Yeah.
But suddenly you've got this authority standing behind you that edifies you in a way that nothing else can.
Yeah. Well, let's talk for a second about paid media like that, paid media coverage, right?
Well, yeah.
Because I'll just be transparent. I paid for a publication once, but I'm going to tell you, it was my first one. I paid for it. And it, because of that, and it wasn't cheap. It was like $2,500 to get on this publication, right? And it wasn't even a deep dive. It wasn't, there was no video with it. There was no interview. There was no, like, it was just a little bit of a paragraph of me in this thing, not even anything fancy, okay? But I got to now use Forbes logo, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when I had that, all of a sudden it gave credibility and it gave that authority. And then all of a sudden, I was getting picked up now. I got people reaching out to me saying, "Hey, I noticed you were featured in Forbes. I want to have you on my podcast." Or, "Hey, and then all of a sudden other news publications. And now, so the one paid got me a lot of free news publication. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. There are, how I told you I assembled a team
Mm-hmm.
of gatekeepers, of people who make major media. And together we created, I have my brand's called Magnify Your Message. And I've got relationships with 50, 55 gatekeepers, something like this. And one thing I hear repeatedly from them is about the trap of paid media.
Okay.
The part of the problem with a lot, I'd say most of the paid media out there, is that it will read, if it's written, sponsored advertiser content.
Hmm.
If it's one of those TV segments that you buy time on,
Okay.
it will have some sort of addendum, footnote, something like that, that lets people know you bought it.
Right. I've seen
Similarly,
those.
some big authors now do a thing where it's like, "Hey, I'll sell you a chapter in my book." Everybody knows that's a pay for play phenomenon. And
Mm.
what these gatekeepers, the people who make decisions on, this week I had somebody from CBS, the CBS Evening News, and CBS This Morning, and CBS This Weekend, working with my clients. This person says, whenever we see that, we're like, "Oh, they can't earn media."
Mm.
That's a red flag. And, I talk about the blacklist. That person goes on it.
Mm.
That's the challenge. Somehow you escaped unscathed. Say that 5 times fast.
Well, thank you, God. You were looking out for me. Okay.
Truly.
Okay. So, yeah,
And you did
because
it
it
fairly
didn't.
cheaply too at 2,500. We've had clients come in who've spent over $50,000
Mm,
for a TV segment that ran at 4 a.m. and it was sponsored TV content, and it never, or sponsored advertiser content, never really got out there.
yeah.
But major media knows if you're doing paid or if you're doing earned. The
Right.
the holy grail is earned.
So, what's
You
the
don't want
difference
anything
then?
else.
I'm just curious, and you this is a coaching moment for me. So I just want to learn. Okay. So what's the difference in then if I come to you as a client, right? And let's say I want to work with you and you're pitching me and I'm paying you, right? So I would pay you and then you would pitch me. So that's not really, I'm not really buying it from Forbes per se. I'm buying it from you for you to help pitch me and get me placed. Is that how that works?
Well,
Or
I
talk
don't
to me.
own the media, so, earned media, you can never guarantee. So if you find a publicist or somebody else who goes, "I guarantee you," run, just run.
Got it.
Unless I own NBC News, I can't say you're getting on NBC News.
Okay. So then I think that's what it was.
But there's a publicist who is like, I've built relationships. Like I said, I've got
Yep.
relationships with 50 plus gatekeepers.
Yep.
I can pitch you in
That's
a way that, like I'd said earlier, ties you into current news cycles in such a way that your expertise makes a difference for their audience.
that makes sense. Okay. So to your point here, that's exactly what I went through. See, I'm just trying to see what direction I went through. When I did mine, I worked with a guy who pitched me, and then I even had to still go through like an interview process
Mhm.
with Forbes. So it wasn't like I got a guarantee for this. It was like he was pitching me to Forbes and had the relationships with Forbes and said, hey, and then I had to go through like an interview process and then bada bing, bada boom. So anyway, so it sounds like there's two different ones. So there's some that are guaranteeing you media placements where you're literally just buying that media placement,
Which is just sponsored advertiser content.
sponsored advertisement. Okay,
You may as well be running an ad. Nobody's
got it.
if you've got an ad on CBS Evening News, nobody's gonna believe you were on CBS Evening News. It's
See,
just
guys,
an ad.
see, this is great for you listeners out there. There's a difference here, right? See, I didn't even know the difference of what I did. I thought you know what I mean? But walking through this and talking through this, I'm like, okay, actually I went in this other direction and not the paid ad type of scenario. It was more of like he had the relationships, I paid him, he had the relationships, he pitched me. I still had to kind of go through the vetting process. And then they accepted the story because it aligned with what they were talking about. And then bada bing, bada boom. So there is two different kind of directions there. That's interesting. Okay.
That gatekeeper I was talking about from CBS this week who was working with my clients, one of the things that they said was, you know, we did a debrief afterward and they said, God, one of the things I love about working with you is that your clients are actually media trained.
Mm,
Mostly publicists send me people who have no idea how
mm,
media works. So they come in here, I'm putting my job on the line every time I pitch them to the higher ups, even though I've won 3 Emmys.
mm,
They said, even though I've been in media for 30 years and I've won 3 Emmys, my job is on the line every time I put somebody up for a segment, every time. I don't
mm.
need to get chewed out from the higher ups. I don't need to have my job threatened. I don't need to get in trouble and have a pension on the line. I don't need that. So that's why we keep using the same people. She said, but when you bring me these people who are so trained,
Mm.
I know I can trust them with my segment. I know they can deliver. I know they won't self-promote or fill in the blanks.
Have you heard of Jeff Crilly? Does that name ring a bell to you, Jeff
Jeff?
Crilly? Jeff
Oh,
Crilly.
sorry.
Yeah, Jeff.
Jeff.
No,
Oh
Jeff.
God,
No,
that's
Jeff
hysterical. I have
Crilly.
to say my sister's dog is named Jep. And he has he's been a little under the weather and I suddenly heard Jep. I have met Jeff Crilly.
You've met him? Okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we had a Zoom. He was a gem. Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I
yeah.
met him.
And
He
he's an Emmy
wanted yeah,
award-winning journalist, Fox 4 News for
he's
like
in uh
forever.
Atlanta or Texas. Yep.
Dallas. Yeah,
Yep.
he's got a PR firm, Real News PR, and I work with him. So I use his studios over there when we do our podcast for like live studio audience.
Are
We
you
just
in
did.
Dallas?
Uh-huh. Yep. Are you?
No, I am not.
Oh.
But I was there earlier this year. Wait,
Oh,
what
okay.
is that? But I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Well, you know those commercials.
So we got to connect then when you're here, you know what I mean?
Heck
And
yeah.
but yeah, I was with him yesterday. I did his show yesterday, the Jeff Curley show. And but yeah, that his story of how he's built the relationships, because again, he was in the industry.
In
He,
local news for so
yep,
long. Yeah.
local news for so long. And he's got all of those relationships. And what he does is something called the rundown. So he's got this email newsletter that he has literally done daily for he told me 20 years or something crazy. But and he'll put this rundown of all the news stories, and it goes out to all of these publicists, right? So, and then he'll put the person who's an expert who could speak on this subject. So here's a story, let's just name a story. Like here's I don't know, like let's say it was the whole Will Smith slapping thing, right?
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
here's the story that's going trending right now that every news publication wants to pick up and talk about, right? Here's an expert who can talk about that subject. So he'll put that in there in that rundown. And then so now I think he's got like 30 or 40,000 publicists who subscribe to this newsletter because he's been doing it for so long. And so they'll pick it up. So if he puts your name in that rundown, your phone blows up with all these new, because they want you to talk on that subject because it's a hot topic right now today. And it's like, you got to go now. So it's happened to me a few times where he put my name in there and oh my goodness, my phone blows up. Hey, we need you on this show. We need to dot, dot, bop, 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 bing, bing, boom. I'm like, holy smokes. Time to rock and roll. Let's go.
Local TV can particularly if you've got a brick and mortar business, local TV, local news, it can, hyper targeted local.
Uh-oh, you're frozen. You're frozen. I don't know what happened, but
Where
there you are.
people.
You're back.
Oh,
You were frozen for 2 seconds. It's all
oh
good.
goodness. I said local news, hyper targeted local news, particularly if you've got a brick and mortar, can be very helpful. One of the things we do right up front with our clients is help them ascertain where the people they serve live, like what news they consume. Radio, newspapers, magazines, online, digital, TV, national TV, local TV. So local news can be very helpful for people. That's cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I got a couple questions I want to dive into here. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think are some common misconceptions about major media coverage that some of your clients have, and how do you help them overcome? What are some of those misconceptions, common things that people are just not really understanding?
So that first one that I mentioned about, I just want to be introduced to a gatekeeper.
Mm,
And that's all I need is can be the death knell for people. You don't wanna do that until you've already gotten some major media. Now it's a catch-22, right?
right. How do you
Major
get it if you
media
don't have it?
major
Right.
media won't feature you until you've got major media for the exact reason that I mentioned with that gatekeeper from CBS National,
Mm,
that their job is on the line every time. So you need major media to get major media, but you do not want to go straight to a gatekeeper before you have media training.
mm,
You need to know how to speak in sound bites, how to be camera ready, how to be interview ready, how to pivot. There's a saying in media, conflict is king
mm.
because it creates viewership and eyeballs and listenership. So generally, or oftentimes what's done is the new guy is thrown on the sword in service of conflict or drama or creating something that people will stay tuned for. You need to know how to pivot out of that with grace.
Mm.
So don't be introduced to a gatekeeper before you're media trained and you've got major media
That's
already.
so true, because there are sometimes they're going to ask you a question that you may get hung up in a trap almost,
Yep.
right? You don't know, and you're just like you're in it, and it's like, how do you pivot? Like that pivot is so important. I mean, I've been caught in those scenarios too, where I'm like, oh crap,
Even as
right?
experienced as you are,
Mm-hmm.
you can still get caught in something
Mm-hmm.
you don't wanna answer or they're trying to we had a client recently, they were trying to politicize her message, and it isn't.
Correct. Yeah, they're trying to get sound bites too. Remember,
Mhm.
these media, they're trying to get their little sound bites. They're looking for viral content too. So 1,000%. Hang tight, Cheryl, one
Yeah.
second in here. Guys, over here in Clubhouse, hopefully you're enjoying this conversation. I want to just let you know my phone is this conversation's been so hot. Literally, my phone's dying over here. So guess what? That means it means you need to hop over to YouTube, okay, and watch it because we're live right now. So continue to watch the show. The link is up above because my phone is literally dying. I'm on 4%. So I'm going to go ahead and shut down this room. But before I do, I want to make sure you guys get an opportunity to go ahead over to the YouTube channel. Go ahead and click that link above in the up above. Just go ahead and click that link. But I'm going to go ahead and shut this room down in 3, 2, 1. Bye. And man, that's a wrap. My phone's literally dead. Like, it's crazy. I got 3%, but we're still good here. Here, let me put it
So
on the
more
charger.
myths. Would you like more myths about major media?
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me some more myths. Like, what are some of those things that we just the average Joe Schmo just doesn't understand?
Everyone has their own bucket list media. 60 Minutes, for example, a profile by Time Magazine, the Today Show, Good Morning America, whatever it is. You aren't going to walk straight into those shows.
Mm.
You need to first get major media, prove yourself, be invited back,
Mm.
hone your message, all like I said, get media trained, all of those things before going to your bucket list. And usually what people will do is burn a bridge. They'll either try to find out through some 6 degrees of separation who they know at 60 Minutes. And I just need to get introduced to a gatekeeper, that myth that we just destroyed. They'll try to go to bucket list first and try to just get introduced to someone first, neither of which work.
Mm.
The next myth is, hey, I write well. Therefore, I can write my own messaging for major media. It's a different beast. A soundbite, talking points, a compelling core message, and newsjacking are 4 of the elements that you need in order to be a major media correspondent, not correspondent, excuse me, commentator. And those things are a different beast. Even people who are authors come to us and recognize they don't know how to write. I didn't know as a network TV writer how to write that way.
Say
It's
say
just
those 4 again. There was 4
sound bites,
sound bites,
talking points,
talking points,
a compelling core message, and newsjacking.
and newsjacking. What's newsjacking?
Newsjacking is the skill of being able to leverage what is currently happening in the news and the zeitgeist in
Got it.
even the calendar.
It's the rundown. It's Jeff Crilley's rundown. What he puts is those trending stories, right? Like
Well,
he's
it's trending stories, but it's oftentimes what's in the zeitgeist. What are people already talking about?
okay.
And distinct from that, what media gatekeepers are always looking for is how can you provide value for their audience?
Mm.
And so it's the ability to take what people are already discussing and serve an audience with it.
Mm.
Now, there are those out there who are like, major media is not about that. It's just about if it bleeds, it leads, which is true. But the gatekeepers we work with and us
Mm.
here at Magnify Your Message, we're about serving. And it's why our experts get invited back again and again and again to big bona fide sources like Fox News National, like
Mm.
Good Morning America, like the Today Show, like this. They get invited back again and again because they serve an audience. They provide value.
And
They
so you got to get started with some got to get a little bit of get something under your belt, right? And then it sounds like you start working with some of these major ones like you were just talking about, Good Morning America and this, that, and the other, right? And you do a good job,
well, you
you're
don't
gonna
start there though.
you
You
don't start
start
there,
at the
right?
smaller
Sure.
affiliates or what have
Yep.
you.
Yep. Exactly. You get some of those under your belt, right? And then once you get up to some of the bigger ones, like you're saying that the goal here is that you're like a trusted speaker for them essentially, and they're going to come back to you.
And people mistakenly think, here's a myth. I'm going to get on there and look so good.
Mm.
And they'll invite me back again and again because I'm going to look so good. No, that's flipped upside down. You're going to get on there and get invited back because you make the gatekeeper look so good.
Mm.
You make them look like a superstar for finding you.
Got it.
And the way
Got it.
you do that is you serve their audience. Now, there's a particular whole way that I don't have time to get into on how you serve their audience and the
Mm,
best ways to do that. But you're making them look good. And if you can shift your context from I'm going to come out shining to they are going to come out shining, you will get
mm.
invited back again and again.
That's so good. That is so good. Well, this is like a freaking masterclass in here, seriously. And I know there's so much more, and that's why I want to make sure the audience can connect with you specifically, right? Because you are the expert in this. I mean, you're teaching me stuff I didn't even realize. Again, what I was doing when I first started, sounds like I actually did it the right way. And I didn't know. I thought I was just paying to play, right? Pay to play. But now, after going through this, I'm recognizing that he actually had the relationships. I still had to go through a process. So it wasn't an ad. It wasn't like a paid ad. So a little bit different. It's good to understand these things. There's a lot of different ways to do it. So anyways, where I was going with that is the audience connecting with you. Where's the best way for them to connect with you so they can learn more about what you do, how you do it, why you're the best person to put them in the news, to get them on these platforms so they can get their message out there and get heard by more people.
My website is CherylHunter.com, CHERYL Hunter.com. I regularly do live masterclasses, and I'll
Okay.
go for 6 to 9 days and just go an hour a day and provide things on those. I've started providing these so that people can get their message out to the world, and it's stuff that I only provide to our client. I have only provided to our clients in the past. Those are something great you can do when you come to the website. There's also info about Magnify Your Message, my flagship program as well. But there's tons of resources that I provide on how you can do this so that, like I said, I wasted a decade so that you never have to do that.
I hear you. I hear you. You built the stage, right? You built the stage. You went out there and you've got the network and you've got the connections and you've got the relationships and you've got all this stuff. It's kind of like me when I put in all this time building this stage, building this
Yes.
platform, right? And someone else can just walk up and leverage what you built. Like, talk about the velvet rope. Okay, like, let's let people pass the velvet rope. Okay, skip the line, right? This is like if you've ever been to Six Flags, they got this thing called the Fast Pass. And every time I go, I'm like, I'm gonna pay extra. Give me that Fast Pass. I'm not waiting in line. I'm gonna ride every roller coaster here today, and I'm not gonna wait in line. So what you offer for people is the Fast Pass, that they don't have to wait in line and have a miserable experience at Six Flags, because that sucks when you're waiting in line all day.
Yep. We just want
Hot.
the fun. We just want the roller
Yeah,
coaster,
I just
right?
want to ride. Let's
Mhm.
go. Okay. So that's what you're offering people. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for your message. I'm grateful for you. Seriously, what you've been through and your gift in helping others to find freedom in overcoming their adversities and their obstacles. It's truly inspiring. And I just want to lift you up and let you know that you're a light in this world. Keep shining. We appreciate you so stinking much. And thank you for being here today.
Trevor, it's my honor.
All right. Well, guys, that is the show. It's all about who you know. Bye.